In this process, there was something so pure, so unforgettable. There were also things I couldn't accept, even things I found repulsive. But they were all mixed together, and this is history. History is this kind of process. There's no way to sort things out neatly. For example, during the hunger strike, some students were actually eating. They felt that the hunger strike was only a means to an end. Our aim is to put pressure on the government, so why should we make real sacrifices? One student was outraged. You people are manipulating the public. He said, once you turn your sacrifice into a hoax, you lose your moral integrity. So he wrote in blood, I want to use my blood to defend the purity of the hunger strike. I was very moved. This kind of gesture might not have any significant political impact, but to me, it showed a deep sense of decency, something that had become very rare in China.
During the days of mounting protest, reformist officials faced an impossible predicament. They didn't have the power to make the concessions the students demanded, yet they knew if they couldn't get the students to leave the square, hardliners were more than willing to use force. And the army had already been mobilized. Furthermore, since the breakdown of the May 14 talks, it was no longer clear who really represented the students. The only way to communicate with the protesters was to appeal directly to the crowds in the square. On May 16th, accompanied by student leader Wang Dan, the reformist official Yan Mingfu made such an attempt.
He was on the verge of tears. He asked the students to give the party reformers more time. He even went out on a limb to tell us that the problem of the April 26th editorial would definitely be solved, but it would take time. He was very sincere. He said that the Central Committee had guaranteed the student activists wouldn't be persecuted. He said, if you don't believe me, you can take me hostage. Then I said, I hope everyone will consider this proposal carefully. But the atmosphere was so highly emotional, it was impossible for either of us to continue. So Yan Mingfu left.
Only hours after Yan Mingfu's appearance in the square, a letter from Zhao Ziyang, written on behalf of the Central Committee, was broadcast. In essence, it contradicted the April 26th editorial. But the strike continued. The following day, Premier Li Peng summoned a group of student leaders to the Great Hall of the People for a televised meeting. Some hunger strikers came straight from their hospital beds.
当然，同志们提出了2个问题，很关心，我们是理解的。作为一个政府的总理，作为一个共产党员，不隐瞒自己的观点，但是我今天不讲。如果我们今天一味要在这个问题上纠缠，我认为是不合适的，是不理智的。
纠缠的不是我们这些学生代表。 还有一点就是说，我认为我没有必要再把我一开始说过的话再重复一遍。但是好像有些领导同志还没有明白，那么我愿意再重复一遍。现在解决问题的关键并不是说服我们在座的这些人，问题在于怎么去让他们离开，他们离开的条件，我已经说得很清楚了。刚才他们离开这里的条件我已经说得很清楚了。只有这一种可能性，这是客观现实。 客观事实，我们如果广场上有1个人不离开，还在继续绝食的话，我们就很难保证剩下的几千人不离开。
In the pre-dawn hours of May 19th, a worn and haggard Zhao Ziyang appeared suddenly on Tiananmen Square. Zhao had lost out to the hardliners in the party. On the verge of tears, he said to the students, "We have come too late. We deserve your criticism." Zhao then disappeared from public view.
When the reformers were still in power, that is to say, before Zhao Ziyang was removed, he was the most powerful person next to Deng Xiaoping. The students didn't accept any of Zhao Ziyang's compromises. They didn't want to cooperate with him in any way. Once he was defeated, it was the hardliners' turn to show how they deal with things.
The government was now ready to declare martial law. This news was leaked to the hunger strike headquarters ahead of time. The students suddenly announced the end of their week-long hunger strike and began a mass sit-in. On the evening of May 19th, Premier Li Peng addressed an emergency meeting of state and army leaders. His speech was broadcast as army units moved toward the city.
如果再不迅速扭转局面，广大的革命的先烈用鲜血创造出来的中华人民共和国的前途和命运，都面临着严重的危险。
Li Peng's speech only served to incite the people of Beijing. Street merchants got on their motorcycles. Calling themselves the Flying Tigers, they sped to the square to report on troop movements. Convoys were blocked by crowds of protesters and their supporters.
解放军官兵们，我请求你们，我作为一个学生代表，请求你们拿出你们的正义和勇气，做一个人民的军队、人民的子弟兵，而不要为一小撮人所左右，做一小撮人的工具，做中华民族的罪人。
谁呀？你们知道吗？
这有人听吗？这我们解释不了吗？这民众的呼吁，
我们在做什么？你们知道吗？解放军兄弟，你们是保护人民、保护学生的。 你们不能来，不能镇压他们！你们知道吗？不能这样，不能这样！
The People's Liberation Army had entered Beijing once before, in 1949. It was a time when the PLA was welcomed in many cities. Over the years, the army was seen as a true people's army, from the people, of the people, and for the people. The party said that the army was like fish and the people like water. Fish can't live out of water. The PLA was the guardian of the state, protector of the people. In times of natural disaster, the army was there to help fight floods, famine, and fire. Party propaganda promoted a popular image of the army. Films, fiction, and stage productions celebrated the PLA and created a pantheon of army heroes for mass consumption. In early 1989, the PLA received its annual tribute in the Chinese New Year TV extravaganza.